Hello, my friends. Let's talk about the infinite abundance and generosity of the universe today. Because at the core, the universe is infinitely generous. And somehow it's eluding most of us. Isn't that strange? I'm questioning a lot of the things that we as human beings have taken for granted, that we need to work hard to receive, that we can't be ourselves, we have to be perfect. There's so many beliefs around it, this generosity of the universe. And we keep closing the doors to that generosity. And of course, I have been doing the same. I always want to include myself because we're all in the same boat. And this boat that we're in is the matrix, is the simulation. It's not real. We have created a universe, or we have accepted a suggestion that there is a universe where there is lack, disease, disasters, struggling, battling, all these things that none of us like. So, isn't it strange that we keep finding ourselves in that same simulation, this same situation, where this universe is infinitely generous? No, there must be a way that we can tune into that and start opening up to receiving this generosity, this infinity, which is what it really is. And the way I see it is that the universe or the divine is everything and everywhere. It's that omnipresent, omnipotent omniscience. There is no place where it is not the kingdom of God, the kingdom of Goddess, call it what you will. It's not male or female. It is everything. Everything is included in that. And that's why it cannot withhold. It's impossible to withhold because it is just everything. You might imagine jumping in the ocean and then suddenly the water is withholding itself from you. It's impossible. So the solution really would be that we jump into the ocean, that we jump into this kingdom of heaven and let it show us what it is. And that will have to be an experience that is outside of the matrix, outside of the simulation, which is the only place where there is lack and suffering and duality, disease. It does not exist in the kingdom of heaven. It's a mind construct that we have all bought into. And my first encounter with that concept was when I started reading Joel Goldsmith's books back in the mid 80s, I think. And then I had a big opening and realized that there is only love. So what happened, of course, that I had a glimpse. It was a glimpse that lasted for 2 or 3 months. So it was more than a glimpse. But just to live in this state of this absolute love. I mean, there's no fear. You're just in a different reality. And that is, in my experience, the real reality, whereas the simulation is a false reality. It's also called the false matrix or the false light. But there is a real, shall we call it matrix, a true earth that we cannot see with our eyes, hear with our ears. And that's why my favorite quote, the kingdom of heaven is spread all over the earth, and man and woman cannot see it. I keep saying this a lot because it is something that I am maybe cultivating inside of myself to remind myself what is true. Because if I don't do that, I will believe that what my five senses see is true. But when I'm outside of that, and of course, I'm sure you have experienced that yourself in meditations, or, where maybe you're just lifted up in a higher state where you suddenly realize what is real. And it's not something you doubt, because when you're there, it's very, very obvious. But when we are catapulted back into our minds, that's when we start doubting it, because that's what minds do. The duality doubts. It's like, is this or that? Can I trust this one or that one? And this is for all that negativity, all the limitations. They just come rushing in when we go there. It's like, oh, yeah, she's back. We're going to get some feed, some fodder, so we can keep living, because she being me, going in there and worry about it and be afraid of it. And right when I engage in that, I'm feeding it, and then more comes in, and then this experience that we may have had, it just becomes something, in the background, and we start doubting it because it's not present with us anymore. But the moment when it is present, it is more real than anything. So how do we step into this generosity of the universe? Of course, we have to be there where it is. It's not found in here, and we can never, ever find it in our mind because it does not exist there. It makes me think of a little story that I heard many, many, many years ago when we still lived in Denmark, where this woman is under the light out in the street. It's dark, so these street lights are on, and it looks like she's looking for something, and she's looking and looking. And then somebody comes over and says, what are you looking for? So, I lost my car keys. I can't find them. And he says, well, where did you lose them? And she says, oh, over there. And over there is dark. So I'm sure you've heard the story before, but it's a good little reminder, right? We have to be where it is. She's not going to find the car keys under the street light when she lost them somewhere else. So the car keys are somewhere else. And that's the same for us. If we go to the mind and look for it there, or try and create it, we have to do all these things with our minds. It's still in duality. And I think the invitation for all of us is to really let go more and more of the mind, and then go to the place where it is, where the car keys are, where the generosity and fulfillment of the universe already is, and always will be, and always has been, because there is nowhere else. That is the only place it can be found. And of course, there is no future and there is no past. There is only now. And that's why we have to come back to this now moment. And I know that might also be a little confusing if you have not fully experienced the now moment. It's like everything stops because there's just now, and this now extends itself into the next and the next. And I remember when I heard that many years ago from a spiritual teacher, I think some discourse, my mind tried to figure out, well, how does that work? How is that possible? Because there was something before me. So it's one of these mind shifts that you can't figure any of this out. You can't figure out that the universe is infinitely generous. You can accept it in your mind, and that's a very good first step. Or you can open up to it, which I think is an even better step, and say, well, universe, generosity, I have no idea about this. So I'm like, show me, show me. And that is the only way, really, we can start receiving it, when we open up to it showing us what it is. And that is never going to be found in our mind. It's going to be found in this experience where love resides in our heart. And that is also, that's kind of the receiving place of it. That's at least in my experience. When I do it more consciously, when it just doesn't come out of the blue, like it did for me in Denmark, then it's like this is the place we can hang out. It's like a portal of the receivership of the generosity and of the infinity and of the fulfillment. So there is that step where we have to be willing to let go of this to the best of our ability, and then place our attention here and open up to receiving the divine. And we have to be open to not knowing what that is. So it really asks for a lot of courage and faith, maybe, or trust. And most of us don't have that. We can only relate to what we have experienced in the past, which is all happening in the mind, which is all happening in the matrix. And that fulfillment is not in the matrix. It simply is not there. The matrix is a false light that does not show the real picture. But we need to go to the real picture by opening up and let it show us. And that's where, the kingdom of heaven is already here, but we cannot see it because we're looking for it here. I know I've said this a lot of times already, but it's really worth repeating because there's so many layers of conditioning that we're all identified with. And, some may even want to argue about, no, that's not possible. And that's fine. I'm not here to argue with anyone. I'm just here sharing my experience and sharing what comes through. You see, when I tune in before I do my YouTubes, I just tune in to feel what is here now, what wants to come through here. And then I just let it flow, not having any idea what it's going to look like. Actually, I just have a sense of something like, oh, okay, that's all I have. And then I just see what shows up. So today it is very much about going to the place where fulfillment and generosity is. There's not like, oh, it's here, it's not here. It's just everywhere, everywhere. So let's just right now, let's just take a moment. Let's take a breath and maybe just open up to this quote that says, the kingdom, the queendom of heaven, or heaven on earth, is spread all around us. That includes you. It's spread everywhere, but you cannot see it. But it is here. So let's just stay with that for a moment and not try and figure it out, not try and grasp for it, but just sit here and just acknowledge, like, okay, it is here. I can't see it. And take that into a meditation. It's like an open question. It's like taking this question and let it drop into the water and let the ripples ripple out and come to you in its own time. Could be right away, could be a moment from now, could be in a dream, could be in a conversation you have with somebody tomorrow where you would suddenly go, oh, we don't know. We only know that we don't know. It's kind of like that. So is it possible to let yourself not know how to access that generosity, how to experience it, and how to not lock yourself out of it, stay in the wrong place? and think you can find it out there, because the out there is still happening in here. The heaven on earth that's spread all over is happening in here. And that's why we really need to spend more time here if we want to open up to a whole new reality that has nothing to do with the matrix we live in now. And I do feel that this is what we are all called to do now, collectively. At least those who are able to hear this, who can relate to that, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And then in order to go here and be here, we just have to let go of all this engagement that we have been so conditioned to be in. That's where all these emotional attachments and all these heavy duty emotions, they're all connected to that seeming outside, which is in the mind. And it's not so easy to just let it go if you have not done any of that work before. So, that is what I am still doing and still enjoy. So you are welcome to reach out to me and set up a time, and we can explore and see, if I would be the right guide for you to move through that, to learn that skill. Or, there's so many other things that are available. But see if you can make that a priority if you're in your life, if this resonates, to start engaging less and less emotionally with the world, and more in this place where you can say, I really want to receive this generosity so I can just be an open vessel for it, for the world. I also want to receive it for myself. I want this generosity just to move through every cell in my body, fulfill itself here, fulfill itself there. I don't want to stand in the way anymore by thinking that there's something I need to do about it. All right. So I think that covers it for today. And of course, I always love to hear from you. I love the comments. Please like, share, subscribe. That would be wonderful. That helps support my channel. And then I look forward to seeing you next time.